Hello Year 3, this week we're going to be working on fractions, which I know you did just before we went into lockdown. So it's a really good chance for us just to review some of the key things we need to know about fractions before we come back to school. So we're going to start by using number lines to help us practice counting with fractions. Now if we look at this one here, let's say this is the number 0 and this is the number 1, and I've split up my number line between 0 and 1 into fractions. Remember, fractions are a part of a whole, so they help us to write down numbers that are between integers, between whole numbers. So I can split this up into 5 parts, and the way I write that is I'm going to have a 5 underneath this line. That's called the denominator, and it tells me that I've split up my whole, my 1, this 1 here, into 5 equal parts. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal parts. And I can then count in those parts. I can say, well, look, this is then 1/5, it's called a fifth, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 1. Or we can say that's the same as 5/5. If I draw a little bar model here, split up into 5 equal parts, that's my denominator, and shade in 5, the numerator, I can then see I've colored in the whole shape. So that's the same as the number 1. I've got one whole unit, one whole shape, 1. What about this one here? I can still see if this is 1 and this is 0, I'm adding 1, but I've split up my number 1 into 1, 2, 3 parts. So this time I'm going to have a 3 on the bottom. I'm counting in thirds. So I've got 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, or the number 1. Again, if you draw a little bar model, 3/3, everything's colored in, it's the same as 1 whole. So I'd like you to pause the video in a moment and you're going to fill in these bits here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. So each time the denominator is going to be 6, and I'd like you to fill in the numerators. Can you think, what would this be as well? What's this going to be? 1. And again here, this time we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So splitting it up into 4 equal sections. These are called quarters. So I'm going to start with 1/4. What comes next? What comes next? Pause the video, off you go. Great, so we end up with 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, and 6/6, or the number 1, 1 whole. Just notice as well, 3/6 is halfway between 0 and 1. So we could also write 3/6 as a half, halfway between 0 and 1. Same here, we've got 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 1 or 4/4. And again, 2/4 is halfway, 2 is half of 4. So we could also write this as a half. And that's just really important to know that actually we can represent fractions in lots of different ways. Again, if I just show you here, here's my 3/6, and I can see that I've got another 3/6 that aren't shaded in, so 3/6 is the same as half. I could draw this again like this. Here's my half, 1 part out of 2. If I turn this into 6, now I've got 3 parts out of 6, exactly the same amount of space shaded, so 1/2 is exactly the same as 3/6, just written differently.